Hello, listeners. Today, I'm honored to announce my guest. He's an NFL Hall of Famer, seven-time Pro Bowler, an ambassador of Bet Pennsylvania, and the NFL's all-time leader in games played. Morten Andersen, nice to
What's
have
going
you
on,
on
man?
today.
Hey.
So, many people may not really know your story, right, on how you came from Denmark to the United States. So why don't you give us a brief rundown? I know you talked about it in your Hall of Fame speech, but just kind of give us a brief rundown on what led to your decision to come to the United States, and then just kind of how you fell in love with the game of football.
Yeah, I was 17 years old, and I think my parents kind of pushed me towards. I was very involved in sports in Denmark: soccer, handball, team handball, gymnastics. I think they were kind of looking for me to widen my horizon and learn a different language, a different culture, and this opportunity through Youth for Understanding, which was an exchange organization, presented itself, and I applied and got accepted, and that's really how I ended up. The program was designed to take students from all over the world to the United States for 10 months, integrate into a family, an American family, let them go to high school, learn the language, and then go back home and tell other students about it, and
Right.
hopefully get them excited about doing the same thing. My What happened to me was a little unique because of football and kicking. And literally a couple of days after I arrived in Indianapolis, I was asked to kick a football, which I didn't have a big interest in, obviously, because I didn't know the game. I was hoping for soccer or something else, and I tried it, and the ball flew high and straight, man. And here we are, 40 some years later,
Yeah,
talking about that
yeah,
fateful 19th of August when I landed in Indianapolis, and it's been truly an American dream for me. And anything's possible, man, if you are open to the opportunities and to new challenges, and you have a little bit of talent and you're willing to work hard.
for sure. So, obviously, the draft is coming up on Thursday. So, following your college career at Michigan State, you kicked a 63-yard field goal against Ohio State, amongst other records. You were selected in the fourth round by the New Orleans Saints, which is my favorite team, obviously, in the fourth round of the 1982 NFL draft. So why don't you just take us back and tell us about your draft experience? I'm sure it was a lot different than the way it is now. So I think the listeners would love to hear your take on it.
Well, 1982 was the infancy of ESPN. So Chris Berman had just started, and they had just started broadcasting on television live the draft, but it was nowhere near what it is today. Obviously, it was pretty benign and basic. And I lived in a house on Evergreen Street in East Lansing with five other guys. It was an animal house, pretty much. It was. The kitchen was a science project. It was not a place I spent a lot of time. The kitchen, that is. But we had a big party, a big draft day party. I was projected to go anywhere from the second round to the fourth round. So we started in the morning. We had a big keg of beer. We invited the local press, the local media, and it was kind of an open house all day. And nothing really happened until late afternoon. At this point, the keg was floating. People are sleeping. A lot of people have come and gone and say, "Oh, it's not going to happen for you today, man. Maybe tomorrow." And I was kind of getting discouraged. And then at about 5:30, the phone finally rang, and it was Bum Phillips, who said, "Hey, you like country music and Budweiser?" That was the first things he said to me.
There it is.
Yes, sir. And he said, "Well, come on down. We just drafted you to be our new kicker with the Saints." And that was literally, I had to pull out a map to look at where New Orleans was. I had never heard of New Orleans, had no contact with them. I had spoken to the Cowboys a lot, the Giants, the Bears, but nothing, no communication with the Saints at all. So I was very
Wow.
surprised that they picked me.
Right. Well, you ended up spending 13 years there and ended up being the team's all-time leader in points. You were also the Atlanta Falcons all-time leader in points. So, what's it like really going from a team that you spend 13 years on, right, and then going to a team like the Atlanta Falcons that you played against really for like, your whole career? What's that like kind of switching teams after spending for most people would be like two careers worth?
Well, it was kind of interesting because after 13 years with New Orleans, I was told that I was a declining player and that I didn't have much to offer. Couldn't hit the long ball anymore, and that's that got me motivated. I didn't say much. I just let my left foot do the talking, and I actually in '95 when I did go to the Falcons, as has been documented thoroughly now. I set all kinds of NFL records for 50-plus yard field goals in a game, in a season. And so I think that critique of my performance or lack of was put to bed pretty quickly. I performed at a very high level in '95, made the Pro Bowl, and sometimes change is good. I did not envision myself going to another team. I thought I was going to finish my career with the Saints. That was my desire, but fate had a different idea, and sometimes change is really uh, revitalizes you. It's healthy. It's you shouldn't be scared of it, and so I embraced it. I embraced that uncomfortable, that change, and flourished.
Yeah, you definitely did. So, February 4th, 2017 was the day you were selected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Can you explain kind of like the anxiety of just waiting around to see if you would end up being selected or not?
Well, there wasn't much anxiety because I had been a finalist for 4 years, so I had been through the process um, several times before. So there was no great expectation. I knew it was a very tight squeeze. It was very difficult to punch that ticket. I mean, a lot of worthy guys. Some had been waiting a lot longer than I had, so I felt I belonged, but also knew that a lot of other guys belonged, and there were only so many spots. So if I had been left out, I would have been, I would have said, "Hey, listen, those guys are really good too.
Yeah.
This is the top of the top here." So um, when I did get the knock on the door, and David Baker stood there and said, "Hey, welcome to the Hall of Fame." That was a pretty powerful moment, and it's been documented, videotaped, and you can go on YouTube and look at it. It's an emotional thing because it's a conclusion of a long career of most guys when they get in, some are shoe-in, some are first ballots. You can't argue, they're legendary just because they were so good. Um, I was a I was a player I felt who changed the position in the way that people looked at the position. And I was relevant in historically in my time when I played and dominant and changed the way that we played that position. And now other guys are really good too. So
Yeah.
so I felt based on my performance over a long time, over 25 years, that I did belong. And so other people thought so too. So I was
Most
very pleased.
definitely.
I was very
Most
pleased.
definitely. So, what kind of things have you been up to since retirement? Just kind of give us like a rundown. You still around the league much, or what's you up
Yeah, I
to?
do some things with the NFL and with the Pro Football Hall of Fame, obviously, and with the Legends community through the NFL. I have a company, Morten Andersen Global. We do event planning. We do high-end golf trips for business guys all over the world. We have European guys coming to the U.S. and U.S. guys going to Europe. And so I've been doing that for about 13 years. I do some business consulting. I'm brand ambassador for, as you mentioned earlier, for in the betting space, and so I've really enjoyed that. I do a lot of public appearances, a lot of public speaking on motivational and humor, and I've written a book. I've done a movie called Gold Jacket about my whole experience there, and sometimes I write guest columns and blogs, and we have a nonprofit that helps our military, our special ops guys, called the Morten Andersen Family Foundation. So that's been busy. My wife and I have been busy doing that. So, really, as busy as I want to be. That sounded like a quote from Rodman almost. Not as bad as I want to be, but as busy as I want to be.
Right.
So it's been really fun, engaging in a passionate way out there, doing things I love to do, and then I have two boys, one in college, one in high school, and they're in sports. So that's been fun supporting them, and yeah, it's been a busy life.
Awesome. Have you gotten to like hang out with Will Lutz, obviously, on the Saints at all or anything like that?
Oh yeah. Will and Thomas Morstead. So Will and Thomas were good friends, and every time I go to New Orleans, I try to see them and go watch them practice a little bit and just hang out. And we're friends on Twitter and follow each other. So it's been he's a very talented young guy. He'll be around for a long
Yes.
time. And Thomas, of course, has been around for a long time. So they do a great job.
I've actually gone on the record saying that Will Lutz is the second best kicker in Saints history after you, of course. It's kind
No,
of
no, it's
surreal that I'm
fine.
Actually sitting here
He,
talking to you. It's just
he's
like
right up there,
crazy.
man. He's right up there.
He's right up there. It's crazy. But thank you so much for giving me your time today.
You bet.
Been a lifelong fan of yours, so this is absolutely just
Awesome,
crazy.
man. Stay safe,
But
okay?
you too, man. Have a good one.
Thanks. Appreciate you, brother.